I am going to try to break down what I think is one of the most interesting stories ever to happen on the internet. It is definitely the most interesting story to ever happen to a platform, and that is what has happened to Twitter, now called X. And I was going to do a real long technical explanation of what happened, and I'm going to do that actually, but I think there's a really great 5-minute segment that we're going to watch first that kind of explains everything about what is going to happen, and I'm going to talk through that segment from this perspective and kind of add some context to it. And before I add that context, I also want to talk about my bias in two ways. The first one is I'm an owner of an advertising agency, so I own a company called Novo, and we do marketing for brands. So we run a lot of ads. That basically means that I spend advertising dollars for brands to make effective campaigns for them. That means that like a lot of my perspective on this is going to be from the perspective of an advertiser, which is probably okay because it might be a perspective that you haven't heard before. But also my perspective is going to be from the perspective of a true user of Twitter. Like I still consume Twitter now, unfortunately, multiple hours, sometimes a day, sometimes like an hour a day. And my personal experience of it has changed so much from like a pretty informative platform where I got a lot of news from to like a dumpster fire. Like, I don't know. I hope that there's people in the comments section that can like relate to me and that their feed has changed meaningfully. If you're a consistent user of Twitter, I'm getting like demonic portals, like medicine isn't real. It's just crazy stuff. It's so insane now. And we'll get into all that. So first, we're going to watch, I think, the beginning of this, which is an old clip from an Elon Musk interview that kind of describes like everything that's happening. And we're just going to go through it. We're just going to kind of talk through everything that happened. Okay. All right, let's begin. So it's from this clip. This is a crazy exchange. This whole story is just so insane. And we're going to get like technical. We're going to get into it. Oh my goodness. Let's begin. Okay. So this is an interview between this guy and Elon, and he's just kind of trying to figure out what happened to this platform.
And you're clarifying this now. But there's a public perception that that was part of a apology tour, if you will. That this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
This is a crazy thing to say.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself.
Cool. Okay. So very viral clip. Like, it's insane that he said this on this thing, right? But let's like pay attention to what he's saying. If someone's going to blackmail me with money, right? If these advertisers are going to leave the platform. So let's talk about why advertisers do stuff from the perspective of an advertiser that runs millions of dollars of advertiser money every year. So advertisers really want two things, okay? So advertisers only want two things, and it's disgusting. Okay, number one, engagement and exposure. And number two, conversions. Okay, so what does engagement and exposure mean? Engagement and exposure means if you want people to see your stuff, if you're a household brand, or maybe you want to become one, or you're trying to build awareness or something, right? That's something. That's reason number one that people want to do advertising. And reason number two is conversions. What's a conversion? Well, maybe you're an e-commerce brand, maybe you're a distribution brand or something like that. You want signups, you want sales. If you're an app, you want like something like, okay, I want signups or I want people to pay actual money. Those are really the only two reasons that people advertise. So the reason that I say that is because when we talk about Twitter and X, we are always talking, you always hear these words, brand safety, right? You always hear, oh, it's not safe for brands to be on Twitter. It's not safe for brands. But it's too scary. But brands, except for the largest brands in the world, like your, and Elon's going to talk about Disney here. He's going to talk about some of those large brands. The largest brands in the world generally don't care about brand safety. And if their results are good enough, they're not going to care about it at all. So brand safety is like this sort of misnomer that Elon and other people have used to kind of excuse these advertisers from leaving, but the advertisers are not leaving because of that, and they're not blackmailing Elon. They don't care about that. They just care about results. So if Twitter was putting up the results, and we're going to talk about all this, you're going to get some really interesting data on all this stuff and why this might be happening, but if Twitter was putting up the results, if I was able to pay a couple $1,000s to get a ad up on Twitter, and you're going to hear a term from me, which is ROAS, that is return on advertising spend. This is industry lingo that basically describes if I spend $100, I would like to get more than $100 of value back on my advertisement. as a result of either as a result of either subjective value, right, which means that like people are going to be seeing that ad, and then that's going to give me exposure, or they're going to engage with that ad, or objective value, which is like people are going to actually buy my thing. And for me as an advertiser, I like to focus more on objective value. I like to be able to measure the amount of money that I'm going to make off of something, or that my brand is going to make off of something that I'm representing. Okay, so for example, if I am spending $100 on Twitter, then I would expect in conversions in some way that I would get $101 or something like that, right? Or the typical advertising spend on Google AdWords, for example, a competitor platform where you can advertise, is about 1.6 to 1, meaning that like for every dollar that I spend on advertising, I get about $1.6 back. And of course, some of that is dependent on my business and the lifetime value of my customer and a bunch of stuff that you don't care about. But anyway, so the point is that I want a good ROAS, and you will see that really what the problem with Twitter and the problem that Twitter is having is that they just can't get results. Elon just can't make it happen. Okay, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's keep going. Okay, he's just going to say that again.
I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
He's going to call out Disney. Okay.
Well, let me ask you then.
One of the biggest advertisers in the world.
That's all.
But again, like I don't think Disney will make a decision to advertise or not based on what he just said, right? Like even if he specifically calls them out, they'll make a decision based on whether they get results on the platform or not. Or in their case, they do care a lot about brand safety.
Bill, don't advertise.
How do you think?
Okay, so sorry, just repeat that again.
That's how I feel. Don't advertise.
So he says this really confidently, and he says this as like a kind of soundbite. And he says, that's how I feel. Don't advertise. Okay, so advertising as a model on the internet has enabled people to not pay a flat price, mandatory pay a price to use a service. Like, I understand that there's a lot of people that kind of spiritually disagree with advertising as a medium, okay? And maybe there's a better medium that we could find. Maybe there's a way that we could run these platforms, that we could do everything that we do via not running ads. But currently, it's the best system that we have. And I actually think it's a pretty good system, and I'll tell you why. Advertising has basically enabled everything to become functionally free in exchange for your time and small annoyance. So the reason that Google can provide all the value that it does in search engine tech and the ability to go find these incredible things, the reason why you can watch something like this and I can create something like this and get paid for it is because of advertising, right? Like you go watch ads, and ideally advertising, and increasingly this has been the case, advertising is actually just a way of telling you something that you want to buy, that you actually do want to buy. So bad advertising, I think, and like bad ads that are not targeted, like people would give a lot of trouble to like targeted ads. But targeted ads are great. I want to be served stuff that I actually am interested in buying. What I don't want is a bunch of like useless stuff that I would never buy, or things that are clogging up my feed that just feel bad to engage with. But if you're gonna advertise to me like some particular health thing or something that I'm like really interested in, or some like drink I would consider great, like okay, cool, I'll watch that in exchange for like all of this free infrastructure that's been provided. Okay, and so like the point of that is that as of yet, Google, Facebook, right? Google's entire business runs off of ads, $30 billion a quarter. Facebook's entire business runs off of ads. Twitch's entire business runs off of ads, and so on. As of yet, we have not been able to figure out for non-distribution, meaning like non-Amazon or like non-commerce type solution platforms, we have not been able to figure out a better way to make something happen, make a platform actually exist rather than advertising. So when Elon says, that's how I feel, don't advertise, he really is taking that entire thing and saying, I think I have a better idea of how to make this work than the advertising model. And his answer to this at the time of this recording, and the reason he said that so confidently in November 29th of 2023, was I'm going to do Twitter Blue, and I'm going to provide value on the platform via this subscription service, and we're going to run this whole thing off of subscription. Simultaneously, I'm going to fire like 80% of people, and then this platform will be profitable. But you find that like the costs are just too high of running a platform like this, and you just can't make it happen without advertising. So he confidently says that like advertising can go away. You'll see later that he like within like 20 seconds he goes back on that and says that no advertising will mean the death of the platform, which is actually the correct take. No advertising will mean the death of the platform for all the aforementioned reasons. You just cannot run a platform with this kind of infrastructure without advertising. Okay, so keep that all in context as we keep going.
How do you think then about the economics of X?
Perfectly reasonable question.
If part of the underlying model, at least today, and maybe it needs to shift, maybe the answer is it needs to shift away from advertising.
Right. So I actually think this host is being super reasonable. He's like, yeah, so how's that actually going to work, dude? Like, maybe we need to change it, but right now, like, this is the bread and butter.
If you believe that this is the one part of your business where you will be beholden to those who have this view.
And that angers him, right? This will anger Elon.
What do you do?
Why?
I understand that, but there's a reality too, right?
Yes. No.
I mean, Linda Yaccarino's right here, and she's got to sell advertising.
Absolutely. So, totally. No. Actually, what this advertising boycott is going to do, it's going to kill the company.
So there it is, right? So he understands that the platform is not sustainable without running ads on it.
And do you think that
and the whole world will know that those advertisers killed the company, and we will document it in great detail.
I'll wait.
But those advertisers, I imagine, are going to say, we didn't kill the company.
Oh yeah.
They're going to say,
tell it to Earth.
But they're going to say, Elon, that you killed the company because you said these things, and that they were inappropriate things, and that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform.
Okay, so neither of them are right.
That's what they're going to say.
And let's see how Earth responds.
Right, neither of them are right. Earth doesn't care, dude. Like, Earth is so busy, like, on their own journeys, Earth has to get up at 9 a.m. and go to work, man. Like, okay, Earth is on 4 medications on average per person. Earth is dealing with, like, yelling kids. Like, you don't know Earth. You're a bazillionaire. that doesn't matter. Earth is not going to, like, come together and overthrow the government in this, like, fantasy red pill, like, scenario where like because Twitter goes down. The reality is nobody cares, okay? And he's wrong too. Like, he's wrong because he's like, what did he say?
And that they were inappropriate things.
Yeah. So they won't care about that either. So it's like none of these advertisers are going to quote like boycott Twitter because of brand safety. Not really. They're going to boycott it because it doesn't pull up results, and it doesn't. You know,
and
it
doesn't feel comfortable on the platform, right? That's what they're going to say. Okay. This goes back to.
We'll both make our cases,
right?
And we'll see what the outcome is.
There's no tribunal. Right.
What are the economics of that for you? I mean, you have enormous resources, so you can actually keep this company going for a very long time. Would you keep it going for a long time if there was no advertising?
I mean, if the company fails because of an advertiser boycott, it will fail because of an advertiser boycott. And that will be what bankrupted the company, and that's what everybody on Earth will know.
But what do you think then of the... this goes back to the idea of trust, though.
Then it'll be gone. And it'll be gone because of an advertiser boycott.
It'll be gone because Twitter couldn't put up results because we didn't focus on advertising the right way. Like, we didn't focus on getting us actual engagement on this platform. So we're going to use your competitors. Like, why would I spend, particularly me too? Like, look, if a brand tells me, and sometimes brands do tell me, like, this is our profile for our customers and our demographic. Let's just get into the brand safety thing for a second, okay? Like, I'm not going to advertise on this platform if there's a ton of like anti-medicine, anti-science, like super, like, or just like screw all that, like just like really negative rhetoric. Like the number of times that I've seen the N-word show up on my feed, like personally show up on my feed, and I click not interested and I try to remove that stuff, is like, wait, I just need to see that once to be like, dude, I'm never gonna put a brand on this. Like unless I'm dealing with like a crypto brand or like someone that's like extremely resilient to this kind of rhetoric, I'm not going to put like a brand in on top of that. But the main reason I'm not going to put a brand on it is because I just won't get results. Like, if I run $10,000 on Twitter right now and I get like anywhere between like 5 to like 100 impressions and nothing happens and I get no sales, why would I spend the money there, right? Versus I could do that on AdWords and run that same 10K and I'll get, 20.6 back in result or 26 back in results or more. It just doesn't make any sense.
But you recognize that some of those people are going to say that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform. And I just wonder and ask you and think about that for a second.
Tell it to the judge.
Judge doesn't care, man.
But the judge is going to be...
The judge
is the
people.
public.
Yeah. The
and
judge
you
doesn't
think that
care.
the public is going to say that...
The judge is tired. The judge is over-medicated, overworked.
That Disney
doesn't care
is
that
making
your
a
platform's
mistake.
failing.
Yes.
And they're going to boycott Disney?
They already are.
Well...
Okay. So just want to repeat that part, right? Because this is like a slam at
The public
Disney.
is going to say that Disney is making a mistake.
Yes.
And they're going to boycott Disney?
They already are.
Are they? Okay, look, before I do this, I don't want to summon the horde of Disney YouTubers to this channel. I'm scared of nothing more in this world than Disney adults, okay? So suffice to say, I don't know why Disney is failing outside of advertising. It's something to do with the Star Wars hotel and the park experience or something. I don't know. There's better authorities on that. I'm an expert on marketing, okay? Not an expert on Disney. But let's take a look at this, okay? The year-to-date Disney stock is down, true, but it's down 0.18%. Over a year, it's up 7%, and over 5 years, it's down 34%. Not good, right? But over time, it's up 6,800%. So, like, Disney's fine. Like them losing shareholder value of like 30% a year, it's bad, but like it's nothing that a CEO can't like reverse, or like they can't reverse with some kind of, they own a massive amount of property and stuff like that, okay? So like, is this because of Twitter? Like, again, I don't want to summon the Disney adults. I'm so scared. But I'm sure that they will tell you that it's like a combination of like many things, like the park experience becoming worse, rising prices, the lack of the lack of ability to like the lack of ability to go to these parks and and afford it just because the economy is hard, right? There's a ton of these different reasons. And I don't think those reasons like meaningfully include like people boycotting Disney because they don't like Twitter or because their live action film features a person who's color they don't like or whatever. I don't know. There's some percentage of people that's doing it, but it's not the reason the stock is falling. And even if Twitter goes is destroyed, like there's not going to be some rampaging group of people that go. I think what I'm saying is people are boycotting Disney for like pretty good reasons. Like around like the park experience and around like and then some really bad reasons on the fringe. But like the really good reasons are like economically based and like based on like just common sense stuff. Like we can't afford to go to the park, man. Like it costs a lot. Tickets raised a lot. People don't travel as much. Or yeah, your kind of park experience and your movies lately have been kind of bad. Like Marvel's doing a little bit tough. Other than Deadpool, I'm not really sure what you were thinking with Madam Web over there. Like that, a little bit iffy, dude. Like okay, so like I think there are some pretty common sense reasons like why it's failing. It's and like if Twitter goes down in a burning dumpster fire, which it appears to be the case, it's not gonna be because Twitter.
Well, there are some that are for lots of different reasons, but you think that this is going to, that you have this goes to actually the interesting of power and leverage.
Let the chips fall where they may.
Can I ask more about the approach to Tesla? When you think about the engineering involved in that, the approach to SpaceX, the approach to some of the stuff you're doing with AI has been very specific, right?
Yeah.
There's not a let the chips fall where they may approach to those.
Yeah, it's like, hey, dude, in your other businesses, you ran actual businesses. What's with that?
Businesses, I don't think.
No, we focus on making the best products. And
why not do that with Twitter then? That's all we want. So like everybody here, I understand I'm one of the only advertisers listening to this, but you users, you just want a good product, right? Like you want to go onto this platform, see interesting and thought-provoking stuff, see a little bit controversial stuff, but you don't want to see demons entering through red light portals, yelling the N-word at you. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like just focus, do the same thing you did with Tesla, which is a great company, or SpaceX, which is a great company, and then put it here. Like why do you disregard the product completely, which has basically done nothing but go downhill, right? And you understand that fundamentally for your other companies, but you don't understand that for Twitter.
And Tesla's gotten to where it's gotten with no advertising at all.
Untrue. Okay? This is completely not true. What is this? It's a Tesla ad. Okay? Tesla had a ton of advertising. You just that's a Google search away to figure that out, all right?
I understand that.
Tesla currently sells twice as much in terms of electric vehicles as the rest of electric car makers in United States combined.
Super cool, dude. See, the rest of this you don't need to watch. He just goes on about how he's the most conservatory guy ever. He does say something cool at the end, though. It might not load because Twitter is such a bad Oh my God. Right in real time. I couldn't script it. I couldn't even make it up. I can't even play the end for you because the video doesn't work on the platform we're complaining about. All right, good enough. Anyway, you don't need to see it. I guess you can't see it. You'll never know. He said some cool quote, but I don't know what it was. All right. Okay. So what is actually happening? All right. Like, if you pay attention to Elon, he's telling you and he's showing you these stats that, like, the platform is experiencing incredible growth. Like, look at this. Users and stuff. Wow, there's like a lot of people. Rolling Stone is a joke. Twitter is a death's door. What is actually really happening? What is going on? Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what's going on. We're going to actually break down the real present and future of Twitter. Right after this, it's the secret call, 20 minutes and 50 seconds. And that's what I'm talking about. The last calls have been like 8 minutes, okay? 20 minutes and 50 seconds into a Devin Nash video, because this is very comprehensive. What's what we do here on this channel, comprehensive stuff. 2850, that means you leave a comment in the YouTube section. If you are still here at 20 minutes and 50 seconds, you're watching a whole video, you're interested, you're initiated, you're locked in, as those kids say, 2050. Leave a comment that you're still watching. Thank you guys very much for being here. I have 2 announcements for you. Number 1 is, hey, if you like to support me, you can do that at patreon.com/DevinNash. But don't worry, it's not just like, oh, you want me to throw money at you? No, I want to give you value, man. I'm a businessman, man. Okay? And you can give me $5 and you get over 200 videos, never before seen, only on Patreon. 200 videos, at least 30 minutes long. I'm teaching business, I'm teaching marketing, all kinds of stuff. There is a library, a litany of things there, all kinds of stuff. $5, and you get the access to all of it. What? That is so much value. I know. It's crazy. Also, there's live streams coming back. I'll be streaming here live on YouTube and on Twitch. Just go check the schedule for those. And thirdly, and finally, I run an agency, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video. It's called novo.tv. If you are interested, if you're a brand and you want to do some advertising with us, you want to not get stuck on platforms like Twitter, and you want to actually make some real ROI off of your, or ROAS off of your advertisements, well, you just contact me at novo.tv, okay? So yeah, consider throwing some stuff at the Patreon, or just going to discord.gg/Devin, where it's free, and you can come talk to us. I'm there all the time. That's it for the announcements. So let's talk about like what's really happening with Twitter, and for that, we're going to need a lot of Notepad. Okay, so you'll see here that like Elon is talking about actually there's incredible user growth, and that doesn't really correspond with some of the things that other people are saying. For example, here's Reuters saying that advertising revenue has declined over 78% since 2022 and 60% year over year. There's a lot of really red numbers that are super scary. Elon thinks it's the ADL that is causing the decline in advertising. The ADL does have some power over advertising. I don't want to make it would be another 30 minutes to explain what the ADL is. It's basically a group of advertisers that kind of come together and they make advertising decisions together. The reality is the vast majority of ad budget is controlled by a few agencies in the world, and those agencies generally move in lockstep. So it is true that a large amount of the advertising budget was pulled via the ADL and via those agencies, but those agencies are just making informed business decisions. They're not like after some kind of like conspiratorial thing. I mean, I talk to the top level of these agencies pretty regularly, and they are not doing anything untoward. It's not like an Illuminati conspiracy. Now, here's another post where the Observer is saying that X is losing users. Okay? So, like, what is the truth of it? Like, what's happening? Well, the first thing as to why there might be a increase in users on the platform is because Elon literally unbanned everybody. So Elon unbanned every account that had ever been banned on Twitter. Some of those people had been banned for pretty good reasons. And thus, the increase, especially increases in these metrics in 2024, could be because of that, but also because there is an absolute insane amount of bots on the platform. It looks like I didn't put down my... Did I not put down my data for this? It looks like I didn't. So I'll have to go off of memory. So suffice to say that the first part of it was that a huge amount of people have been unbanned, but the second amount of it is that there are an enormous amount of bots on the platform, which are counted as users and counted as logged in users. Elon has not been transparent whatsoever about the number of bots on the platform. We have just finished an audit with a security firm. I kind of have to be careful about what I say here. And that audit was trying to determine fraudulent clicks across multiple social media platforms, i.e. like how many of the actual clicks on ads are real and how many are not. We are doing this audit because we want to get better value for our brands and we don't want them to pay for fake stuff. So it was not us that collected this data. It was a third-party security firm. However, we saw that, and this is pretty reliable, that there was over 60% of Twitter having bot clicks, allegedly. So that to us basically guaranteed that. So that's to say that like if 6 out of 10 people that are posting or commenting or doing anything are at least in some way associated with, or they are a bot account. So that would easily explain this increase in users. And that alone is enough for me to basically never advertise on the platform until that's under control. Elon's done nothing to acknowledge bots. He's shown no data that I know of on the reduction of bots on the platform. So there you go. That's why that's the discrepancy that you're hearing as to like how some people are saying that like Twitter is growing, engagement is growing, versus other people. It is likely that X is losing real users and gaining bots. And likewise, the amount of advertisers leaving the platform is absolutely true. Okay. Just as recently, this is the most recent article. Elon is in deep trouble as even more advertisers are planning to leave Twitter's toxic cesspool. Not very, what's the word? Unbiased journalism, but we'll take it. Interviewing 1,000 senior marketers and 18,000 consumers across the globe, just 4% of marketers think Twitter ads provide brand safety. You can put me in that 96%. I also do not think they provide brand safety. 15% of marketers were favorable towards Twitter ads. You can also put me in that 85%. I'm not favorable towards Twitter ads. It has since gone in a complete reversal. Now 21% of marketers are unfavorable. Advertisers have moving their marketing spend away from X for several years. The stark acceleration of the trend in the past 12 months means a turnaround seems unlikely. That has been my experience as well. That has been the experience of every single person that I have worked with. This is due to the user base dwindling and the sheer number of bots doing the platform. Here you go. So, bots on X are worse. This is the link I was looking for. Bots on X are worse than ever, according to analysts of 1 million tweets during the first Republican primary debates, according to The Guardian. Whoa. So there is a lot of bots. There is a lot of really fake stuff, and it's not great. Fake people don't buy things, and I love when you buy things. So I am very upset, and I won't run my ads there. Okay? So that basically explains that discrepancy. So it doesn't look good. So, Devin, what do you think? What do you think, Devin, about what's going to happen to Twitter? What is true and what's not? In summary, the big summary here. Well, I think it's 4 things, okay? What I think, all right? I think the first thing is that it's probably true that advertisers are leaving the platform in record numbers. Again, our own data shows that 61% of clicks on Twitter, on average, are bot clicks. So not only do you have brand safety problems and high CPMs, meaning that the ads actually cost more than they did before. So one of the things I didn't mention in this video is that like Elon, over the course of time, by the way, like when Twitter ran under Jack Dorsey, I had a direct contact there. I had a person that I could call. That person would help me run ads. That person would talk to me 24/7 about anything I was doing, about my brands or whatever. We ran enough money with Twitter and these platforms that I still to this day have representatives at every one of the platforms, at least one. On Twitter, when Elon took over, that person disappeared, and I have never gotten a non-automated response from Twitter since. Okay. So I can't ask anybody there why the CPMs, meaning the cost per 1,000 impressions to run something, have gone up on Twitter. And Elon is telling me through his media and through the stuff that he talks about that Twitter ads should be higher priced because they're producing more results. But the ads aren't producing results. The ads that are running don't get us meaningful impressions. The impressions that they do get don't seem to be real, and they certainly don't translate into any kind of sales or conversions. There's a hilarious video that I want to show you. It's called "I Ran Twitter Ads to See Why Advertisers Left." This is such a good video. and it's like a 15-minute video where these kids just try to run ads. They're kind of ridiculous to see what happens. And the results they get are pretty impressive. Watch it if you have time. Okay? So the point is that, like, I do think it's true that advertisers are leaving the platform in record numbers. That has coincided with all of the data that I have seen. It's my own personal experience as well as the experience of all of the marketers and agencies that I talk to, which is a lot of people. Okay? Secondly, let's talk about some of the negativity, the racism and stuff like that. I think it's also probably true that racism and negative speech has increased. That has been my personal experience, but I don't like going off of personal experience. I like getting data, especially for YouTube videos and like kind of technical deep dive videos that we do on this channel. So, we're going to pull up the congressional hearing here, and there is it's just a dumpster fire. Okay, so slurs against certain groups of people. I just want to be really careful with YouTube's like censorship system here. Showed up on social media services an average of 1,282 times a day. After the billionaire became Twitter's owner, they jumped to 3,876 times a day. Slurs against certain groups appeared on Twitter 2,500 times, and now they've risen to over 4,000 times, or 3,964. Anti-Semitic posts raised more than 61% in 2 weeks. So you can just kind of go through this entire article and see that the increase in racist and anti-Semitic commentary has gone through the roof. I'll get to like how I feel about that on the fourth point. But suffice to say that I think that racism and negative speech has increased on Twitter as well. Thirdly, at the rate, my notes say, at the rate that this platform is going, it's doomed. I guess I didn't choose to expand on this point anymore in my notes. But yeah, too many advertisers are leaving. There's not a path to profitability. Again, I don't think you can monetize this platform no matter how many people you fire via Twitter Blue. And I don't think that you can make any advertisers stay on the platform when, one, you can't produce results for them, and two, only 4% of those advertisers think that you are anywhere near acceptable to be on the platform. And that kind of gets into like my final point, which I think is my most important point. It's a hard one. It's a hard one to talk about, but it's a good one to end on. Oh boy, here we go. Free speech is really important. Really, 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 really important. When Elon first announced his vision for Twitter, I was really positive on it. Because the way that he advertised Twitter was what he called an open town square, which was a place for people to discuss ideas and talk between each other, and hopefully come to conclusions or expand on those ideas. I live in America. One of the things that I'm really scared about in America right now is how polarized we've become, not just in terms of media, but in terms of in and out groups. You are either on the left or you're on the right politically, and it seems like politics has now become everything. It's become every cultural issue. It's become every moral issue. Like, if you're on either of these sides, you adopt a certain moral compass, a certain brand of ethical considerations, and a certain level of acceptable speech and activity. And there is like almost no such thing as a moderate, meaning a person that sits in the middle and tries to take both ideas, good ideas from both directions, and try to form a cohesive world vision. There are a lot of people that would like to claim that they are moderates. They are, in fact, fighting for one of the other sides. And so this concerns me greatly. Like, sometimes I have anxiety, like, staying up at night thinking about how messed up this is in this country. So Elon's original vision of this platform was, sorry, I'm like emotional about this. Like Elon's original vision of this platform was this open town square where those people and those moderates could explore both sides of the equation and hopefully maybe come together with like a better cohesive vision of what we ought to do. But it didn't happen. Like a bunch of people from both sides, like the most extreme left and the most extreme right, came in with the craziest takes ever, and they flooded the platform, and now there is no conversation. It's just a nightmare hellscape of misinformation, which carries with it its own problems. You can't tell what's real. Propaganda from either side, foreign state actors, like people that have their own agendas or are just trying to make money off of you. Like one thing I didn't talk about in this video is that Twitter Blue monetized posts. So like a lot of posts that started coming up were just designed to be the most viral posts possible so that people could engage with them, so that those people could get paid. So for example, like you'll see a lot of content that's like around fighting or like really viral content that's just repeated over and over again in the replies, because you can also monetize replies, which I think was one of the worst decisions that Twitter made. Well, like and again, like when I'm hearing about this vision before seeing it executed, it sounds amazing, because like content creators getting paid for posting content is the basis of which YouTube and Twitch and these other platforms are existing, and they're amazing. It's actually really, really cool that's possible. I personally got really excited when I heard that this was going to be a possibility with Twitter, but the problem is that like the way that it was implemented just incentivizes people to post the most viral, like BS, like kind of trash content possible, so there's never any meaningful discussion on threads. Like somebody could actually have a really good point on a thread, and then you just see 10 to 15 to 20 to 300 meme posts that have nothing to do with the original. They're OnlyFans creators. They're like viral fight videos from high schools and stuff. They have nothing to do with the original discourse, because like they're just people trying to monetize their posts. So nobody cares, and so the result of it is that the entire thing is just a dumpster fire. So if you go back to my old videos and I'm like, wow, this Twitter thing looks really sweet, is because and then some people criticize me for it. They're like, oh, you got this prediction wrong. Like you thought that maybe Twitter could be a good thing. Yeah, this is one of my, like, I think I hit like 70%. This is one of the ones that I missed, because I am a optimist. I want to see like the good in the world, and I want to see us like evolve and talk together and come together and grow. So I want to see the potential in a platform. I want to see the potential in the vision of somebody to create something cool. That's not happening here, and it makes me sad. And it makes me sad because I feel like Twitter actually, for a moment there, a blink in time, a wrinkle in time, had a real shot at becoming a platform where we could have had open discourse and we could have talked about things. And I do think that you see some of that on Twitter. Like, I do think that the previous iteration of Twitter was a little bit too strict on certain viewpoints. And because of that, there was a sort of rhetoric that happened on that platform that favored certain sides. And I do think it's good that a more conservative viewpoint, a more balanced viewpoint, for example, like people that are more moderate or conservative, can voice what they think as well on Twitter. However, the platform is so unregulated on both of the sides that it's just a nightmare to deal with, and nobody reasonable can go into it. I'll tell you this, because I do a lot of self-improvement stuff. I try not to put it on this channel as much as like the business marketing stuff, but I'll tell you this. Everything that you consume in this world, number one, there's an agenda to it, someone else's agenda, and number two, you're choosing to allow that into your mind. So you got to be really careful on what you allow into your mind and what people you listen to and what they say to you. Okay. Everything on Twitter feels like a misinformation campaign to get you to believe something, that the establishment isn't real, that science isn't real, that everything isn't real. This is a super dangerous phenomenon. This is the literal definition of propaganda. Propaganda, people think, is like, oh, it's just like misinformation. No. Like, propaganda is a combination of real information and misinformation with the goal of getting you to not understand that anything is real. So you just don't have a center point for what reality is anymore, and you're like, okay, I'm so confused, I'm so overwhelmed, my world is falling down around me, I don't know what to do. That is when a dictator or powerful person extends their hand, a guru or a cult leader or someone like that extends their hand and says, I have the answer. You don't need to think. the world is very scary and very confusing. Come with me, and I will take you to the right path. And that's how we get North Korea. That's how that happens. That's how propaganda works. And that's what I'm seeing as a manufactured, whether intentionally or unintentionally, on Twitter. And that scares me a lot, is that if you consume that platform enough and you don't have enough of of your own center to understand what is real, you will start questioning what is real. And so I caution people to be very careful with Twitter in its current iteration. And I am trying to disconnect myself from using it, because although I feel like I have a very firm center in reality, I am definitely feeling the negative mental effects of consuming the platform even a little bit as I do, to the point where I need to like actually take action to ban it and to get it out of my life. And that's really sad, because I don't actually know what replaces that platform as a opportunity for free discourse. Like I don't know where we talk about things and we don't get judged for them anymore. I don't know where I can say a right-leaning opinion or a left-leaning opinion and not have the other side attack me. It doesn't seem like it's possible in America, and that's really sad. So like, I understand, like, there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, like the death of Twitter, like, let's go. I'm not excited about it, because I think it's the loss of, we're seeing the loss in real time, not the loss of yet, but all signs point to the loss of a platform that had the real potential for us to have actually good, thought-provoking discussions. And I don't think there's a good replacement for that, or a good forum for that today in the first world, which is really scary. So, I'm still rooting for Twitter for that singular reason, right? Where it's just like, I just want, I just want a place where I can get information that is normal, but it just seems to be a platform where Elon is tweeting at Taylor Swift and demons are entering through portals and science isn't real. It's really unfortunate. So I hope in this video that I've given you an entire breakdown of the situation with Twitter and where it's going. The answer is not good. And kind of the 4 main points that I think of, like, what are going to happen with the platform, right? Like, I think that advertisers are leaving. They're going to continue to. I do think that negative stuff is continuing to go. I think the platform's doomed at this point. And by doomed, I mean, like, advertisers will kill the platform, and they're right to, right? I will be a part of that. And I also just don't have an answer on this. I'm really conflicted in my position. I want everybody's opinions, including the misinformation, to be out there, but I don't know how to balance that against, like, the real possibility of poisoning people's minds. And like, we assume that everybody can take care of themselves. That this is also particularly an assumption of the rich. Because the rich have a lot of agency, they have a lot of money to spend around places. They assume, like, everybody can make their own informed decisions about things, but they don't understand that reality doesn't work that way. Like, first of all, a vast majority of people don't have time to do that. Like, they're too stressed, they're too overworked, they've got too much going on in the background, or they're a summary of mental trauma and things that have happened to them at no fault of their own, and their life is just too difficult to go figure out what is real and what isn't, and like what political side you should figure out, and what senator is not corrupt, and things like that. Like, it's perfectly reasonable for people to opt out of that system and just try to survive. Like, I think that's totally fine, and it's something that a lot of rich people and a lot of, like, really wealthy people just ignore. They don't understand that that is a reality for people, that, like, life is actually really hard. A lot of people are suffering and just trying to get by, or they just are trying to get away from this constant wheel and rhetoric. So I don't think it is fair that we put the entire responsibility on individuals to try to try to figure all this stuff out. And that's essentially what Twitter has done. It's like, okay, here's everything. Go, like, figure out, like, what is misinformation and what is not. And, like, even people that spend a lot of time being really informed just can't do CBA. Like, dude, like, Warhammer Space Marine 2 is a really good game. Can I play that a little bit instead of figuring out which senator, like, is voting for this bill or whatever? Like, no, you've got to figure it all out. Like, come on, right? I don't know. At the same time, so I think we need some kind of version of fact checking, and I think community notes is probably the last, like, really good thing left on Twitter that does fact check that, but it's too sparse. It just can't keep up at scale. All right, I have more to say, but I probably talked long enough about this, and you probably feel like you've listened long enough. So I would love to hear your thoughts. I'll read through the comments and just kind of figure out what you're thinking about. And maybe you have your thoughts on the open town square type of issue. But I hope I've kind of clarified more about, like, what's happening with Twitter, and at the very least that this was interesting to you. I'll see you again next time. Okay. Thanks everybody for watching. Bye bye.